Hello, welcome to some Donkus show.
Alright. Okay, well, here we are. I guess I'll start this off. My name is Michael Ball, and to my right is...
I'm David Ford, the second.
And I'm Kyle Ball.
Alright, and we're just going to be talking at you, and eventually we'll try to get like a structure going on, but for now, we're just going to go like it is. So I'm kind of what you would call like just a classic nerd, maybe. I like comic books, I like I like anime, I like video games okay, but, you know, I play them, but I'm not really into the whole video game scene. And I'm pretty fond of movies as well.
I'm pretty hardcore into the game aspect of things, I guess. I have a ton of Steam games and Xbox games. That's kind of my deal.
And I'm also pretty heavy into games. I also like anime and movies and a lot of that, but, at least for me in video games, I tend to prefer single player and older games.
Can I just throw a note? If we actually talk about comic books and stuff, I'm going to be a little bit more out of the loop with just like a ton of questions, so...
Oh, well, that's totally fine.
If people end up having questions about things, I'll probably be the one to ask them.
Okay, that's all good. Alright, just, as a way to kind of break the ice a little, we're going to mention a couple movies that we like. So, for me, probably my favorite movie is, Ghostbusters, the original one. I really like horror movies, but a lot of the time I'm not a big fan of the slasher type. I'm more a fan of like ghost or monster type movies. And Ghostbusters, I think, is a really intelligently written movie. It's a really funny movie, and the actors are all really great. And I think it has like a really good story to go along with the ghosts.
Yep. Is that why you like it the most?
Yeah, I just think it's a really funny movie. I could watch that movie like all the time.
Okay, my favorite movie is Dawn of the Dead, the original. I love that movie so much.
So this is the one that takes place in the mall, is that?
Yeah. One of the original George A. Romero films before he completely shot his career in the face with Diary of the... Actually, no, Land of the Dead was fucking terrible.
Oh my god, Diary of the Dead was fucking trash.
No, what's even worse is Survival of the Dead. Because there's like a zombie that rides around on a horse, and then she finally falls off and is like, oh, I've been riding on this horse the whole time. I guess I gotta just eaten it, but...
Man, that's stupid.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, movie that I like, I don't necessarily have a favorite, but I really enjoyed the movie How to Train Your Dragon. I just feel that, you know, it's very well done. It's definitely for children and they can enjoy it, but, it's a movie that is written well enough that adults and older people can enjoy it, and just, I mean, it's computer animation. Eventually it'll probably look old and kind of obsolete, and I've noticed certain things about it already in it, but even so, it looks great, and a lot of the textures in it, you actually feel like you know what they feel like.
Yeah, the textures in that movie are amazing.
Like Gerard Butler's beard.
Yeah, and like the fur.
The fur that everyone has, or like the scales on the dragons, yeah.
The clouds look amazing, yeah.
And that fire looks really painful.
Yes.
God damn it. Alright, yeah, I mean, that is a good movie. And it did kind of have that, like, really gross, like, a lot of CG movies have, like, that really stupid, like, smirk. Like, I don't know what you're talking about,
the
but
DreamWorks
like,
smirk.
the DreamWorks smirk. That thing's
that
really awful, and How to Train Your Dragon was a DreamWorks movie, but it managed to get away without having the DreamWorks smirk.
The worst one is Over the Head, because this raccoon, like, they're all pretty bad, but this one's like his like eyebrows like halfway down his nose, and the other one's like going up into his like hairline or whatever. Like, it's really bad.
No, man, the worst one was a Shark Tale or whatever that one with the fish where Will Smith was
Shark's
in.
Yeah.
Because like, man, Will Smith does this really weird thing sometimes where he just has this like shit-eating grin and just like looks like really, really goofy, and like that fucking fish that he played did that all the time.
Yeah.
It was just like hyper distracting. Okay, so I did mention how I really liked Ghostbusters 1. However, as much as I like that, the second movie was just complete trash. it just wasn't very clever, and it just seemed like really small stakes. The first movie is about trying to stop Gozer.
Is that the one with the painting?
It was.
Okay.
It was the one with the haunted pain of Vigo, the scourge of Moldavia, and the sorrow of Carpathia.
You know all that. Goddamn.
Yeah, I know a bunch about this movie, even though it's terrible. And like Peter McNichol, who's like that really weird dude from Ally McBeal.
Oh yeah.
With the real curly hair, who is also the main dude in Dragon Slayer. He played this really weird painting curator who had this really distracting accent. And the whole movie was just fucking terrible, where it was about, like, Vigo, the evil painting, wanting to get Sigourney Weaver's baby so he could possess it. Anyway.
Yeah, because you'd be in control of aliens.
What? There were no aliens in Ghostbusters.
Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, it's Sigourney Weaver, yeah. Totally. So anyway, it just seemed really low stakes, and it was just a bad movie. A bad movie. But another movie that I like, which, questionably is bad, but which, I just can't help liking, is Beastmaster. And
I like that movie.
yeah. Beastmaster with,
I think kind of Conan, but
he's kind of like a really skinny Conan where he can control animals, and like Rip Torn plays Mayax, the evil cult leader. Anyway, that movie, it's really cool, I think, just because, what sets it above, like, all the barbarian movies of that time period, because, Conan kind of invented the original Conan the Barbarian, invented this, like, cottage industry of, like, really low-budget, fantasy movies during the 80s, and Beastmaster was certainly one of these movies that was, came out in the wake of the success of Conan, but it just had some really interesting ideas, and it had some pretty cool action. They'd really set out to try to make a unique fantasy world instead of just going, this is like a fake Europe in like the Middle Ages or such and such. And it's really cool. It's a really cool movie. If none of y'all have seen Beastmaster and you like that whole fantasy kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y type thing, I definitely recommend it.
I have not seen it, so
that's good. Well, you should sometime. Do not, however, see any of the at least 2 sequels, which are very bad and very weird, especially the second one, where you find out that they retconned it to say that the Beastmaster was blind and had a twin brother, and for some reason, in like Masters of the Universe style, it ended up taking place on like Earth for part of it before they go back to like Beastmaster World. It was just really weird.
I will say this for the first time, I love that movie, but I remember there's one scene in it that happens towards the very end, and it still makes me sad, and that's when he loses one of his companions. I'm not gonna spoil it, but that made me so sad.
Spoilers are one of those things that people throw around a lot as like a negative.
Spoiler alert.
And I think I'm really in the minority here, but I really don't mind spoilers because, as a general rule, my like of something has to do with like the characters and the overall storyline more than it does like seeing some big resolution to things. So as a general rule, I'm able to like still appreciate like a movie and like it, even if I do know how it's gonna end. Because
yeah, but what if you saw, what is that movie with Bruce Willis? And you just in your pants? Sixth Sense.
Oh, Sixth Sense.
God, why did I go that way?
Okay. If the whole movie is built around like a twist secret ending, then obviously in that case it is a major factor. But like, you watch Star Wars and it's like, man, Luke Skywalker, okay, I guess, hearing that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father is a huge moment because, you didn't know that at that point. Sorry, all y'all who haven't seen Empire Strikes Back, but yes,
that
indeed,
one guy out there.
Darth Vader is in fact Luke Skywalker's father. I'm sorry if I've ruined that.
There's gonna be one guy out there. No.
Well, see, here's the case.
I mean, no.
Here's my guess to the spoil. I'm gonna say that someone that is a companion of the Beastmaster dies. I'm just not gonna reveal who, because then it's gonna happen, but there's still the surprise of who it is.
And also, when you say companion, you're leaving it wide open. Is it one of the human dudes who hangs out with Beastmaster? Is it one of the animals? Who knows?
So, because you guys keep saying companion, I'm gonna do a Doctor Who reference. It's Rose! And nobody else will get that.
You're right, I won't get that.
I won't get it either.
Doctor Who is one of those things that just I've never been able to get into. For whatever reason, it just has never had any draw for me. I understand the more recent version of it is supposed to be really good, but
I like it.
yeah, a lot of people really like it. It's just for whatever reason, Doctor Who has never been something that I was interested in watching.
Oh, okay. So I guess do I have to do another movie? Because I can't really think of another. I'm gonna do my favorite game instead.
Okay.
I love the crud out of Halo 2.
Dude, I've already dropped so many fucks in this. You might as well go all the way.
All right. Well, I love Halo 2. It is by far my favorite Halo game. I think people, generally Halo players,
and when he says it's his favorite Halo game, Halo is his favorite series of games. Like, if there's any Halo related stuff, he has it. He reads the novels and everything.
Yeah, if you could marry an inanimate object, it would be a Halo game.
Anyway, I think a lot of people, or a lot of Halo fans like Halo 3, I think their love of that game is so misplaced. And a lot of it comes from how much people hated the Arbiter in Halo 2, and I think they're completely stupid because they're missing the fact that it introduced this whole cool concept that you would play as an enemy, and it was like just awesome. Sorry, I'm getting off track.
Yeah,
I love Halo 2.
Calm down a little bit. Yeah.
All right. On to me. I'm gonna do another movie. I do love games, but my movie is The Whole Nine Yards. It's a comedy with Matthew Perry, aka Chandler from Friends, and Bruce Willis, and you also have people like Michael Clark Duncan in it.
Yeah, that movie was a pretty funny movie.
And one of the reasons I like it is it doesn't just like have punchline comedy. It's not, like Super Bad or Anchorman or something like that where it's really quotable. What makes it funny is it's a really visually comedic movie, and it's not Three Stooges slapstick comedy like physical slapstick stuff. It's very much just the character of Matthew Perry in particular is supposed to just be kind of a squirrely little guy, and he's really nervous, and he is around killers, and it's just him doing really subtle things, like he's really freaked out because someone just got killed, and like someone tries to toss him a can of beer, and he's just so zoned out and freaked out by what happened, the can just flies right off the boat that they're on, and it's just little things like that through the movie, or he gets really scared and tries to run and runs into Michael Clark Duncan and just bounces off him and hits the ground, and it just looks right, and it's really funny.
Matthew Perry's a pretty funny guy.
He is.
He's it's kind of weird what happened to those dudes who were in Friends. I mean, well, first of all, they, as a general rule, none of them have really done much afterwards.
Well, what about Jennifer Aniston?
Well, she
her
kind
and Courtney
of has.
Cox are the
Jennifer
only two.
Aniston had kind of been. She'd managed to actually have like kind of a film career on the side while she was doing Friends, so people didn't exclusively think of her as being in Friends, as opposed to who's the dude who played Ross?
Oh, he's switched to directing movies.
David Schwimmer.
He's actually recently, a couple of years ago, I think, was up for some awards for a movie he did.
Oh, really?
He's also the giraffe in Madagascar.
Oh,
That's true, but
he was the giraffe. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he's mostly moved over to directing and writing movies.
Also, Wanda Sykes is the hippo.
Yeah. However,
my friend's one of my friend's daughters really likes that movie, but she calls it the Move It movie. Because
God, I hate
for any of y'all who haven't seen Madagascar, which I don't recommend because it's not very good.
the little girl's gonna be watching this and be like, "Mike, dash my dreams."
Oh, please. No, she won't.
She won't listen to this.
She won't listen to this. Anyway, when they finally get to the titular island, they find a group of lemurs who really like to sing that weird song Move It. I don't know by who, but over the credits, it is just literally that song, like on non-stop for like 10 minutes. And it basically becomes like the theme song, the unofficial theme song to this. Kind of like how that one really horrible song by Smash Mouth.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say
Superstar became like
somebody once told me. Yeah, that song was like the theme song to everything ever.
Yeah, in one summer you had Shrek, Rat Race, and Mystery Men, and I believe one more movie. in the span of like 4 months, used that song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that movie somehow became like the unofficial theme song to the Shrek movies. So, in addition to the problems of the later Shrek movies, you had to deal with that hideous song continually playing.
Yeah, it was terrible. Smash Mouth sucks.
Um,
I don't know anyone who listened to Smash Mouth,
Yeah.
to be
Oh.
honest.
So to get back to the prior point, though, of people and friends not getting married, the worst has to be
Joey.
Joey, because now...
What was his
Matt
name?
LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah.
So, what's the worst for him? He actually showed up at an award thing, and when he was introduced, he was introduced as Matt LeBlanc, aka Joey Tribbiani.
Ooh.
He is forever known just as Joey Tribbiani.
He was in Lost in Space.
He was in
Which I
Lost in
liked.
Space, yeah.
That was during Friends.
The one thing I will say about those guys is that while I may be, feeling kind of sorry for some of them because they can't really do any acting now because they're kind of like typecast as like their characters on Friends, they do all have like a buttload of money because at least for the final season of that show, each of them were getting paid like $1 million an episode.
Yeah.
Really?
So
Yeah.
no,
What?
they were getting paid ridiculous money. So
Yeah.
like all of them theoretically should never have to work again, but.
Yeah. And I mean...
it does kind of suck though, as an artist, that you can never really take part in what you like to do.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well-
sure that in the case of Matt LeBlanc, he continually seems to want to do things, but
Matthew
He-
Perry's actually in a new show called Go On, which is pretty...
Huh.
It's pretty good. He recently has lost his wife, and so the cast this time is all the people that are in a grief counseling group.
oh
And-
yeah, that show. Okay.
Yeah. And so he's a sportscaster, and he's in an interview. The one thing he says that he hates about that show is he actually interviews all these like real professional sports players, and he says it kind of destroys like this romance to these people. You actually get to,
Oh, so you don't see them as like these idealized like
yeah,
images,
you
see
realize
them as
they're just
actual
regular
yeah.
people. And he says that part's kind of sad, but show's good, and I
Okay.
watch it every week.
Well, you would know. I'll be right up front here. I rarely watch any TV show on an ongoing basis.
I think the only show I watch, I try to watch every week is Bob's Burgers, because that show just gets me. I don't know what it is.
That show is very good.
yeah, out of all of us, I probably watch the most TV shows on a weekly basis.
I basically watch like no TV shows on a weekly basis. I'll say that right out front. So, yeah.
So yeah, this is kind of who we are, and I mean,
Yeah.
this week I believe we're just going to each choose a topic, and
Yeah, we're going to each choose a topic, and then we're going to talk about that for a bit.
We should talk about Magic Sword, because that movie's amazing.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Magic Sword.
I love the fuck out of that.
Okay, so, pass over Magic Sword for a sec here.
alrighty, just a sec, I have to find it. Here we go.
Alright, so for any of you who
I
is,
believe
I'm
it's
assuming a
1962.
lot of you, are not familiar with Magic Sword. The Magic Sword was a movie that came out in the year 1962, and it stars, according to the DVD, it stars Basil Rathbone. Basil Rathbone.
Dude,
Who
that
is-
guy's awesome.
Yeah,
Yes.
Basil Rathbone, who is most famous for playing Sherlock Holmes in a lot of old movies.
Oh, really?
Now,
Yes.
yeah, he's kind of like the definitive screen Sherlock Holmes. Now, this movie would have you believe that he is the star of the movie, when in fact he is the villain of the movie. I think the hero of the movie is played by Gary Lockwood.
I
who-
believe that is correct.
I'm sure he's done other stuff, but I can't think of what, because this movie is 1962 and my knowledge of movies really stops in the mid-70s. The movie also has the woman who played Vampira, who also was in Plan 9 from Outer Space,
Yes.
and also the show Vampira. So, who's
Yeah, you can't forget that one.
well, Vampira's the woman that Elvira basically ripped off her
Yeah.
shtick.
So, one of the things I want to say about this movie, though,
Yeah.
there's like this it's kind of cheesy, but it's one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen, where he's like drowning in the swamp.
We'll get to
Wait,
that.
okay.
Yeah, when we're talking about that, we'll
Okay,
get to it.
so quick summary of the movie. Basically, this guy, the main character,
George.
George, is using a magic
Not
mirror.
George Descent, by the way.
He's using a magic mirror to spy on a princess that he's totally infatuated with.
Yeah, because George lives with his I guess, adopted mom.
Yeah, adoptive mother.
Well, yeah, I mean, he calls her mother, but she's like a witch. But like,
she has to ask him to call her mother.
yeah, she's a good witch, and she is the one who's cared for him for his whole life, and she's kind of a really bad witch, as in like
Not
ability,
skilled.
not as in like evil.
Yeah, anyways, George is spying on this princess, and she ends up getting captured by Sherlock Holmes.
What is his name? Lodak.
Lodak, there we go. Anyways, he then uses he has a magic horse, a magic sword that can open and close.
When you say he, you mean George.
Yes, George.
Not Lodak.
Yes, George has a magic horse that is faster than any other horse. He has a magic shield and armor that can stop anything, and a sword that can't break, and it has magic properties to seal and unseal anything it hits, among other things. And he goes with this, and also unseals magic on the 6 greatest warriors from around...
The 6 greatest knights of all time.
Yes.
Who suck.
Yeah, well, the 6 greatest knights, as it turns out, each of them are from a different, Western Europe, well, no, not Western, a different European country. And most of them are pretty broad, stereotypes.
But the names make total sense for most of them, and then you get
we'll get that in a moment.
Oh.
So
I'll just not talk.
Okay,
anymore.
no, you say what you're gonna say.
Okay, well, there's one. I think his name is like Peter or something.
Oh,
the Irish one.
No, that's Sir Patrick. Sir Patrick is the Irish dude, of course. And Sir Pedro is, of course, the Spanish dude.
There's one who's... Oh, no, it was the French one.
Yeah, the French guy.
Yeah, his name is, like, not French at all.
His name is, like, Peter or Richard or something like that.
Yeah, it's something totally normal.
Not
stereotypical.
Normal is in, like, English. You'd expect with the naming scheme of, like, Pedro and Patrick, and isn't it, like, Wolfgang or something like that from Germany?
No,
it's
Wolfgang's
Ulfric. Ulfric. Anyway, the other guys all have these, and by the way, at least 3 of the knights are interchangeable because they're bumped off really fast. But, but the French dude, with the naming scheme, you expect him to be named Jacques.
Yeah, I was thinking Jacques.
Yeah.
But, no, he actually has like a pretty standard, English type name.
But to get back to the story,
So the 6 greatest knights of all time are going to help George try to rescue his lady love from the evil clutches of Lodak.
and the whole thing is there's one other guy who insists on doing this mission by himself, and there's something off about him, and he's portrayed as being kind of evil, and
he's George's rival for the hand of the fair princess.
Yeah.
And they do a plot device scene where, sometimes they'll show, like something in a movie to let you know they're kind of off or whatever. It shows this guy's ring, and that's not really significant. It shows it for like 30 seconds on screen. It's like, you better remember this ring.
Yeah.
Remember this ring.
Anyway.
Also, we're gonna stay here and look at this ring.
Yeah, so George basically, convinces the king that he's mighty, and he and his knights are gonna join the other guy, can't think of his name.
The evil knight.
The evil knight. And Lodak is gonna stop them, and he has... his whole gimmick is he has 7 deadly curses, and so George and company have to go through and pass each of these curses and get to Lodak and defeat him before the princess is fed to an evil 2-headed dragon.
And by the way, the evil 2-headed dragon does not count as one of the curses.
Yes, and we should also explain that by
Curses are traps.
Yeah, curses are basically traps. The list of curses are an evil ogre, a swamp,
and just to notify you of how useless the 6 mightiest knights in the world are, 2 of them get taken out by the giant ogre, who is the first curse.
Yeah, so we have a giant ogre, a swamp that can kill you, a maiden who can turn into, totally makes you want to lust after her, and then she'll kill you.
Yeah, she turns into, an evil monster when you're, kissing her.
Yeah, so that's 3.
And of course the French dude is the one who falls for that, because, those French guys, they love the ladies.
Yes.
The ghost people.
That number 4 is a superheat that will literally basically melt you.
Yeah, like
Two
two of them go ahead and they get caught by the mighty sun, and so they run out and are like, "No, go back. You'll get sunburned to death."
And
So George and Sir Patrick, who at this point in time are the only two knights left, try to avoid the burning sun by going into a cave.
they chase the evil knight who's not hot in the sun.
Oh yeah, because the evil knight, turns out that ring that they decided to put such emphasis on makes him immune to the various curses.
And you find out that it's Lodak's ring, and he's actually working with Lodak, and the deal is he'll get the princess if he gives the ring back to Lodak. And while he wears the ring, he's immune to all Lodak's powers.
Oh, pardon. While we were mentioning the second curse, which was the swamp curse, we left out the part that David was so excited to tell you guys about.
It's like literally the coolest scene I've ever seen in a movie. So like he's drowning, or
George
is drowning, and in this like puddle of doom or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a swamp, and it's like
pulls you under, and
and he barely reaches for the sword, and the sword like lifts up on its tip and pulls him out of the swamp.
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting looking effect. Because,
yeah, I'm sure some guy was just pushing him up from below or something.
Yeah,
he was probably crouched down.
Yeah, like David
up.
says, the sword rises, the handle of the sword rises up into the air as the sword tips onto its point and pulls George up out of the swamp.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty cool looking scene.
Yeah, especially for the time period. It's a really cool idea. Anyways, curse number 5, they get trapped in a cave, and it's a set of ghosts. And then the curses just continue to get kind of lame. The next one...
Well, so
lamer.
the fifth one we specifically know is because it's the ghost cave.
Oh, no, I know the other two.
Well, it's kind of iffy what the sixth curse is. I mean, Kyle's pretty sure that he knows what it is, and Kyle's
he calls it that.
Oh, okay, yeah, the sixth curse is actually just really lame. What is it, Kyle?
Okay, so George gets into Lodak's castle and is saving the princess, and they're about to escape. And the sixth curse is Lodak just teleporting all of his cone-head and bird-faced minions into the room surrounding him.
Yeah, it was basically he makes all of his forces invisible so that they surround George.
And then,
yeah,
I
remember that.
And then
the seventh curse is none other than Lodak himself.
Not the dragon.
No, not the dragon, but Lodak.
And here's the best part. At this point, he's gotten his ring back, and he's casting his mighty magic, and then Sybil, George's adopted mother, walks up and just slips the ring off his finger, and then turns into a panther and kills Lodak.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Sybil is not, as we said, she's not a very good witch. She, over the course of it, she's trying to give George more power so he can more adequately fight Lodak. Well,
or the dragon in this case.
Well, yeah. In any event, so, because she's terrified that Lodak will kill her son, because Lodak killed her brother and her father. Well, to do this, she decides to cast a spell to soup up George's, magic sword. And in the process, the spell goes, Witches of Hecate, blacker than black, what is it? No, it's like it's like Demons of Despair, flesh on the rack, give my boy George the power to blank. And she cannot figure out what word could possibly rhyme with rack. And some of her assistants suggest snack and smack and all sorts of other words. And finally, at the very end, she
Lodak says, "Attack, you fool, attack."
Yes, so the final magic word for her awesome spell is attack. It's
magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, the movie's like one of those really cheesy, horrible ones from the 60s that's kind of in the so bad it's good camp. And if any of y'all are have the ability to do this, I know for a fact that on Amazon Prime, it's you can stream it on there. I'm sure Hulu not Hulu, because Hulu's horrible. Netflix probably has it, and if any of those fail, if you can happen to find it, I'm sure you can pick up a copy of this movie really cheap on DVD if you come across it. Kyle bought his for $3.
Yeah, just a couple days ago, so it's out there.
Yeah, so that's Magic Sword, and we all recommend it.
Oh yeah, I don't normally watch the bad movies. Well, actually I do, but this one was actually a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
I think if you're looking for a bad movie, that's still a lot of fun. I mean, that or Sharktopus.
Yeah,
Well, that's one of the problems with bad movies a lot of time, is a lot of time bad movies are just boringly bad, or just, they're bad because nothing happens, and horror movies are like the worst for this, because horror movies that are bad are just boring and stupid, and they're always in the dark, and it's just completely interchangeable people stumbling around, and, they're not fun to watch, And I know this because I used to work at a video store, and every night, without fail, I would rent 3 movies and watch them. I saw plenty of clunkers. And really, there is...
So Magic Sword is totally available on Netflix.
Nice! Okay, so you're gonna hear Magic Sword is on Netflix. If any of you have it, we recommend you watch it. But Magic Sword is one of those bad movies that is actually fun to watch.
Yeah, it's not like Avatar. I mean, the last Airbender.
Yeah.
That movie's just terrible.
Oh yeah, I mean, The Last Airbender has so many problems.
I
with
guess
it.
that's a cheap shot, but I really do feel disappointed with that movie.
A lot of people feel like at best upset and at worst like personally deeply offended by that. With me, I'm more just like confused because, well, first of all, I didn't really have high hopes for that movie to begin with because, it's one thing to translate a movie or a comic book or a video game into, a regular, like, piece of literature or a comic book or a video game into a movie, because in that case you're transferring it into a completely different medium, so you're getting a really different feeling for it. In something like The Last Airbender, it already is a television show. So you are effectively just changing it from, like, one version of a medium to a slightly different one. And also, so your pretty much visuals are going to be roughly the same. In fact, probably worse, because the television show is like animated, so you have like effectively an unlimited budget. You're just not going to be able to have like the same level of like action and stuff in like a movie that you would in like a television show. Especially not a movie that is 80 minutes long and is trying to condense 26 episodes. Or 20 episodes, however long it is.
20, I believe.
20, okay.
They leave out major characters too. Well, not major characters, but...
What happened? You hear so many... Okay, I'm not even going to defend this movie because this movie is like a pile of garbage. However, I will just put it like this. People complained about, and there are some serious problems about it, but people complained about how, for instance, Aang is like a humorless asshole and doesn't have fun. Well, one of the reasons for that is because in the process of trying to translate the whole first season into an 80-minute movie, they were only able to hit the big story beats. And all the big story beats were the ones where Aang had to deal with trauma and sadness. So, of course, as a result of that being all the character points that they're converting into a movie, Aang is going to be a completely humorless asshole.
But even, like, because I saw a clip the other day, don't ask me why.
Okay.
It was on Netflix. Not Netflix, Nickelodeon. Anyway, so there's a scene where Sokka is like, reaching...
You mean Sokka?
Sokka, that's right! He reaches for his boomerang.
Sokka.
And he's like, oh, it's not there, crap. And he does like this face, and it's not even slightly funny, it's like, oh, you're just bad at acting.
Yeah, I know. Like,
and, oh my god.
The fact that they changed the names was kind of confusing. And
Ong.
And I don't know, there's a lot. That movie is just like a whole can of worms that, we could talk at great length about how bad it is, but...
So, to once again go back, we're gonna re-aim. Part of the reason the Magic Sword is just fun is it's only, like, 72 minutes or something.
You're serious?
Yeah, it's pretty damn short. I don't know where it...
Yeah, 77 minutes.
Okay, 77. I was close. But what makes it fun is one of the reasons it's bad is just because it's a completely different time period and the expectations are completely different. Like, it's not like it's just this really crappy made-for-TV sci-fi movie that, like...
Oh, those are the worst.
Those are, but this is something that was trying to be like a fantasy, like, action movie, and they just had different standards at that time, and special effects were that, and then also, movies at that time period were almost unanimously shorter, so they couldn't really build things up. Now, if a movie's 3.5 hours, you just go with it because that's the norm for big epic action
really
things.
long movie still, I think.
What?
3.5 hours.
Oh, 3.5 hours is unusually long period. I'd say that now, like an average runtime is between 2 and 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still,
Still, that's about an hour longer than the Magic Sword is.
yeah.
So that's the Magic Sword. Moving on to some other semi-television, semi-movie related, line of topic. And by the way, I was thinking of Ty about this. It's interesting we brought the Magic Sword because I hadn't really meant to spend so much time talking to Ty about movie related things, but, I was gonna, talk to y'all about the Avengers, just in general. Not necessarily as it relates to the movies or whatever, just in general. So, to start off with, let's say who your favorite Avenger is.
Not me first.
I have to say, just because, I don't know, I don't think he's necessarily the strongest or anything, but growing up, I was a huge fan of Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye's pretty cool.
More like hot guy.
It's interesting you do call him Hot Guy because on Tumblr one of the things that people like to do is one of the ongoing arguments among one of the ongoing points of discourse among comic book fans online is the representation of women and non-white people when it comes to superhero comics. And when people are talking about women, a lot of it has to do with the general portrayals of women, and more specifically about how they're dressed or posed. So, for instance, pictures of, let's just say Black Widow, where she is bending around in an inhumanly possible, in like an impossible way, so you can see both of her boobs and her butt in the same shot, when it's like, someone break their spine doing that.
Aurelia.
Yeah.
Yes.
That type of cheesecake thing where it's like they're not positioned in a pose of strength, whereas, you'd see Superman, he's got like his arms on his hips and he's,
puffing out his
chest and he looks like he's ready to throw down. You'll see Catwoman laying back on like a roof with her cat suit unzipped down to the navel and like pouting her lips and pouring diamonds on her boobs.
Can I make a quick interjection real quick? So I work at the men's warehouse, right? And I have to deal with a lot of people. There's this lady that came in the other day, and she gave me this grin, and she had tons of teeth, and I was like, oh my god! Rob Liefeld's child!
So, for those that don't know, Rob Liefeld draws, he's very distinct in his drawing, and...
Yeah, I'd actually be kind of surprised if you're familiar with comic books and do not know who Rob Liefeld is, but just for those who don't.
Just one of the things that he's known for is teeth.
Yeah, like
and pockets.
Oh yeah, Rob Liefeld. So he came to prominence during the 90s, where everything was kind of to the extreme, and Rob Liefeld is kind of like the epitome of that, where every person had muscles upon muscles and like a trillion pouches hanging on belts and like.
Lots of
chest
big
straps
guns.
and giant guns, and they'd have so many pouches that'd be like, what are they carrying in their pouches?
Yeah, on one comic book cover,
that would be one of the early issues of X-Force, where it shows Cable and the Six Pack, who is his mercenary team, and there were of course 6 of them, and each of them had, someone actually counted up, and there are about 50 pouches.
The big guy, whoever he was? Grizzly had 26, I believe.
The best thing about Grizzly is that he has giant pouches.
Yes.
So the question is, does he just have the same thing as the tiny guys, but in giant form?
Yeah, so he's bigger, but his pouches proportionally are the same size as if he was a tiny person.
Yeah, Grizzly, for those of you who probably don't know, because he's a really obscure character from the 90s X-Men comics, was a red dude who was, and by red I mean like, he's like crimson, like a crimson like mercenary dude who was like maybe between 12 and 15 feet tall, and he just had giant pouches all over him. But anyway, one of the things Rob Liefeld loves to do is have people grimace. And when people grimace, they like to show their teeth. And they always have, like, shark teeth. Not like pointed, just like the sheer number of teeth that are in their mouth.
Yeah, and then one other thing that I just love about his art is he cannot draw feet, and so usually he hides them, but whenever they're there, like, women stand on their tippy toes like a ballerina, and they're tiny.
And the dudes will have, like, these enormous thighs that are, like, as big as a human torso, and then they'll have tiny little dancer feet.
They put Chun-Li to shame.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, they're, like, super Chun-Li. But, anyway, so we were talking about Hawkeye. Well, one of the responses I've seen to this objectification of women poses on the internet is to show Hawkeye in the exact same positions and wearing the exact same costume as these
I've
ladies,
seen that.
which is pretty funny because Hawkeye. Well, also it kind of works because Hawkeye is kind of the man slut of the Avengers, so. They always like to show these strong female characters being all flirty with the come hither glances and scantily clad. So, Hawkeye kind of is the perfect, counterpoint to that. But anyway, I totally derailed your discussion of Hawkeye. What do you like about him?
Well, just growing up, I did like fantasy and a lot of that, and I wasn't necessarily as big into, like, guns. I was much more, swords and axes and archery. And one thing I remember on the Sega Genesis, an old Avengers game, you could play as Hawkeye, and, like, he'd walk around and shoot his bow and arrow, whereas, a lot of the characters just run up and punch people. And I like that he's kind of agile, that he uses a bow, and he has all these trick arrows, and then I like his personality, where he's not, like, a malicious dick, but he's kind of a snarky dick to the group, and he doesn't, and I don't know, his interactions with others, I like that aspect of him.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Hawkeye is a really fun character to have on, like, a team, just because, he's gonna be the guy who kind of shakes things up. And, so let me ask you, are you a fan of, like, his old purple costume, or?
Okay, real quick, I found a picture of Grizzly that Rob Liefeld did.
Yeah?
Like,
yeah?
There's so many pockets!
Yeah, I know, he's, the pouches on that dude are, like, as big as, like, a normal man's head.
You could literally fit Cable in there.
Yeah, you could totally fit Cable's head in there.
I actually do like his old costume.
The purple one?
Yeah, I know David does not like the color purple.
Yeah, David is deeply, deeply opposed to the color purple.
Which I think is secretly one of the reasons he likes Halo so much, because the main villain's color is purple. So he gets to spend hours shooting purple. But it's not necessarily, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the color purple, but that overall design and scheme of his costume I do like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like a classic costume. Are you a fan of his current kind of movie inspired costumes where, they're kind of like just the leather bodysuit with sunglasses?
I will say I think it works better for the movie, because, with a lot of the costumes, I mean, you look at the X-Men movies, they did not just throw Wolverine into his yellow and blue outfit that was made really famous in the 90s.
However, I will say that then X-Men First Class, they did costumes that are inspired by the yellow and black. And those actually worked really well.
That is true. However,
when you are designing superhero costumes for movies, you do have to make some allowances.
Yeah, and
I think that you're probably right. Hawkeye's movie costume is a much better choice for him, even if it is a lot less interesting.
I will say though, I would still like to see if they would maybe spice it up a little and like give him a little more of a feel, since he's officially an Avenger.
Well, they could give him some kind of, like, eyewear, like some crazy goggles.
Yeah, he just has sunglasses.
Does he?
No, I guess you're right. He doesn't even have the
sunglasses.
sunglasses.
I was gonna say, he doesn't really, he just kinda...
Yeah.
He just had night vision goggles, I think, once in
He kinda just
Thor.
looks like Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, in the comic book, the current Avengers comics, they're really playing up the popularity of the movies, and so a lot of the characters in the in the comics who are in the Avengers movie have had their costumes change to kind of match that. In some cases, definitely for the worse, like Thor, who I thought, his movie version is actually kind of really awful, especially the helmet.
I see. I don't like that big ol' like. I don't like that. How his cape goes like up here and then down. I think
you don't like the giant cape?
No.
Okay. Anyway, Hawkeye's costume in the comics is kind of boring. It's basically his movie costume, except it's purple and he has like sunglasses.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, I think
it's okay. I guess.
I think it works for the movie so far, but I would, like I said, I'd like just a little more added on. I'm fine with it being black and him not going, the way of like Superman or Batman, where they're full on caped like masked Avengers or what have you. But it could. I'd be glad if it stepped it up a notch.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. How about you, David?
As far as Avengers go, I can't really say one way or the other. I kind of like all of them acting as a team.
Right.
I know my favorite Marvel guy. I love Venom. I know that's super cliche, but
Okay.
I loved it when the Scorpion was Venom and he would just like eat people.
Oh, so you like the Mac Gargan Scorpion as opposed to the Eddie Brock?
Yes, I thought he was really cool.
Yeah, that was a.
I thought it really kind of changed the game a little bit. I'd never heard of people just straight up dying in comics before, but then again, I don't really read as many comics.
Yeah, comics over the last 15, 20 years especially have definitely gotten a lot darker. Especially if you read DC, where it's like DC Comics a lot of times sometimes feel like just a nonstop cavalcade of like mayhem and misery, where you read comics and dudes are getting their arms ripped off, or there's all sorts of just awful things occurring in DC Comics, and it works for them, I suppose. I mean, I'd kind of prefer not to read a Batman comic about some
Limb severing
serial killer, but that's kind of how it works. So I thought you'd mentioned. I
like Luke Cage.
Yeah. So what do you like about Luke Cage?
He's just a badass. Also Marvel Ultimate Alliance is really fun. You could throw people off ledges and stuff. That was really cool.
Yeah, Luke Cage is a pretty cool character.
I just think he he's kind of just a normal dude that's bulletproof or something.
Yeah, he's a dude who got he was wrongly imprisoned. He got framed basically, and then took part in a prison experiment that had the side effect of giving him skin that's as hard as titanium and super strength.
Oh, well, I just think he's kind of a cool guy.
Yeah.
And I like that. I also like that he had the underground Avengers or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
During, or after Civil War. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So,
By the way, are we moving on to your favorite?
Yeah.
I'm betting...
I want to bet too.
Okay. I'm betting Ant-Man.
I'm betting Hank Pym.
That's Ant-Man.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yes.
Damn it.
Yeah, you guys know me too well. I do really like the character of Hank Pym, who is basically the most well known within comic circles as the wife-beating Avenger. And I don't like him because of his wife beating, because that would be singularly awful. That's one of those storylines that is well known, and it's one of the only things that people ever remember about that character, and so it's always dredged up continually, even though wife beating is never okay. Let me just preface that by saying you should never hit your partner. That's just like a completely scumbag thing to do.
I'm glad you put in the difference there, your partner, because you started out with just wife beating. So girlfriend beating was completely okay until you said that.
You should never physically abuse the people you're with. That's just, it's completely unconscionable. And,
Here's the good news. Not about wife beating by any means. The good news is there's going to be a Ant-Man movie coming up, and with, like, Tony Stark as Iron Man was kind of ignored a little bit, but because of the movies, his popularity has increased. So hopefully with the new Ant-Man movie, that will kind of reset that character, and he'll be good in the public eye again.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. What I liked about Hank Pym, and I'll just put this out once. So Hank Pym did, in fact, in one of the, I believe it's in the 70s, in one of the 1970s issues of the Avengers, Hank Pym struck his wife, Janet Van Dyne, who is also known as the Wasp. He basically backhanded her in like a moment of anger. Now, what this was also, and here I feel like kind of like a scumbag because I'm really trying to rationalize this, but I really want to set the scene here. It wasn't just some coldly like, abusive deal where Hank had gotten drunk and was just taking out his anger on the Wasp. What was occurring was that Hank Pym is a character who actually has in the past had legitimate mental problems. He's pretty manic depressive actually, and he has gone through multiple superhero identities. First as Ant-Man, then as Giant Man, then as Goliath, and finally as Yellow Jacket. And during his Yellow Jacket time, which is when he was kind of just like insane, he was under a lot of pressure and felt that he was going to be kicked out of the Avengers, and in a moment of frustration, backhanded his wife. Now, and that's really, and as a result of that, and another reason, he was basically kicked out of the Avengers for quite a period of time.
He didn't pay his union dues.
No. But anyway, so that's, that's kind of the well that they keep going to when they are writing stories about Hank Pym, is of Hank Pym continually apologizing for the spousal abuse, which, works fine. You shouldn't just, I can understand the desire not to completely gloss over that. But in any event, the reason I like Hank Pym, and the reason that David and Kyle were so easily able to decide that I would like him, it really has to do with the fact that he's also Giant Man. Because I am in love with giants.
Quite literally.
Yes, let me rephrase that, because there's some really weird people out there who are really into like giants eating them, and like this kind of like really, stuff. Yeah, this kind of like gore, like digestion porn, and like giantesses like eating people, and that is not my bag. I just like giant things hitting things. So, I like giant monsters, I like, fantasy giants, and I like superheroes who can turn giant and just like hit things. So
I liked it when Thor came back in Civil War and just like fuck Goliath. He just goes dead.
Yeah. So what David said about his Giant Man is Hank Pym's former lab partner, Bill Foster, who also Hank Pym is able to grow and shrink using these magic. Well, they're supposedly grounded in science, but for all intents and purposes, magical particles that he decided to name after himself.
Pym particles?
Yes, Pym particles, because, Hank Pym, you can, a lot of things, he's not all, shy on naming stuff after himself. Anyway, using the Pym particles, he can either shrink or grow giant. And his former lab partner, Bill Foster, had a on-and-off superhero career as the Black Goliath, because this was during the 70s, and any superhero who, was African American or African or what have you, had to have the word black in their names, just so you knew exactly what you were dealing with.
Is that why Black Panther is Black Panther?
Well, Black Panther, I think, is called Black Panther because he dresses like a Black Panther.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's black there, right?
Well, he is, he's the
prince.
He's the king of he's the king of a fictional African country.
It's also the most technologically advanced country in the world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Who, according to Reginald Hudlin's run on Black Panther, had already developed cures for AIDS and cancer and cracked the human genetic code back in the 40s.
But they don't want to give it out.
But no, they don't want to give it out to the rest of the world. So in addition to being the most technologically advanced country, they're also incredibly xenophobic and dicks.
Well, xenomorphs are scary, man.
God damn it.
I like how I took that right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, during the Marvel event Civil War, Bill Foster, aka Goliath, was killed by a clone of Thor.
I thought it was a Rubit.
It was a clone cyborg. Yeah, it's really
A Clonborg.
Clonborg. Anyway, so I just like Hank Pym because I like guys who are giant, and he's also kind of cool because he's also like a super scientist, and super scientists are fun, and it would be nice to have him show up in the Avengers again, just because like Iron Man is like an okay character, but I always saw him as more of like an engineering type rather than like a super scientist type. So, it'd be nice to have someone else like be able to solve problems other than everyone
share the load of science.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than have like
what was that? Share the load.
Share the load.
What's that from?
That's from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's right.
Sam is all like, "Hey, Mr. Frodo, it's so heavy. Maybe you could share the load."
Yeah.
And then Frodo stupidly is all like, "Hey Sam, you need to go back down the mountain and leave me alone.
You ate my crackers.
You need to leave me alone with Gollum, who definitely wants to steal the ring from me, and you who maybe want to steal the ring. You need to go away and leave me alone with this dude who definitely wants to steal the ring from me, because that's a great idea." But anyway, so I like Hank Pym. He's because he's a giant.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Are
Plus,
you gonna see Jack and the Giant?
Oh yeah,
Jack the Giant Killer?
I'm totally gonna see
Yeah.
Jack
Yeah.
the Giant Killer.
Dude.
The main character from that is from a TV show called Skins.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Really, is it about football?
No.
No.
Yeah, it's about kids who do drugs and they're bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to point out that movie has the same title as the movie Jack the Giant Killer from like
Oh my
it's a
God.
movie
You
that
don't say.
yeah, I know, surprising. It's such a boring ass movie.
Oh my
and
God,
where
that is a boring movie.
despite it being called Jack the Giant Killer, a sea monster fights a giant cyclops centaur that's like 30 feet tall, and he fights a dragon and a ghost. He never actually
No,
fights,
he fought a giant at the very beginning of the movie. Remember? Because
but the giant gets away.
yeah, but he fought it.
Okay, but he's a giant slayer, not a giant fighter.
Not a giant. I scare you away with something.
He
Yeah.
did have the help of a magic leprechaun in a bottle there.
Yes. Anyways, that movie.
Clearly, he deserves to win.
So yeah, that leprechaun had like the worst Irish accent ever.
Oh, it so did. That movie's really boring, but
Well, that's some funny parts in it.
it is some fun parts, and it is a movie done by Ray Harryhausen, who is kind of famous for his claymation monsters. He worked on
Clash of
Jason
the
and the
Titans.
Argonauts, the original Clash of the Titans. He helped in the
The
Sinbad
Sinbad
movies.
movies.
It's just, when you see one of his films, if you watch two of his films, you immediately can recognize all of them after that, once you know what to look for.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like claymation movies.
Oh, no,
the
the
most, I think.
Yeah, no, the movies are pretty good. It's just like Ray Harryhausen always has furry, legged, like, hooked giants, and they're always cyclopses.
And non-Jack Giant Killer had 2 eyes.
The centaur? Oh, the giant had 2 eyes, the centaur only had 1.
When was there a centaur in Jack the Giant Killer?
You know that part with the
Okay,
centaur?
when they're on the final island, and they're trying to escape, there's a giant centaur, and then a giant, like, tentacle sea monster comes out, and they have a giant fight.
I remember the sea monster coming out to fight something, but I didn't remember it was a centaur. I thought
It's
it was...
a giant, it's hooked feet, furry, and the upper body is totally just one of his cyclopses from another movie.
Interesting.
It's got the horn, it's bald, and it's got the one eye.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Sidetrack there, but yes, I do want to see the new Jack
This
the Giant.
whole thing is just sidetrack.
Okay, that's true.
Well, I mean, over time, I think we'll have more direction. But
Yeah.
now we're just kind of shooting shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I think that's fine though. I like video games.
Oh, by the way, when it comes to comic book wife beating, I'll just
Peter Parker.
yeah, I was gonna bring up Spider-Man because during the infamous Clone Saga, Peter hit his wife the exact same number of times.
His pregnant wife.
Yeah, the exact same number of times as Hank Pym has hit his wife. Peter Parker has also hit his wife. Except here's the thing. 1, Peter Parker has super strength, and 2, Peter Parker's wife was pregnant, and she went flying across the room and hit a wall. And then not only that, but Peter Parker then, under mind control, spent 3 issues chasing his wife through New York City trying to murder her.
Yeah.
But people get to politely ignore that because,
he's so popular.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's
Spider-Man's
Spider-Man, and
so
Spider-Man's been a trillion comics, so, you can do that, as opposed to, a C-list character like Hank Pym, who, everyone, when you think of the definitive Hank Pym story, it's like, what do you think of? You think of wife beating, and maybe you'll think of the fact that he created Ultron. But, he's had, a long...
Pimtron?
Pimtron? That would be pretty amazing if if his hubris was such that he decided to name Ultron after himself as well.
Yeah. So...
But yeah, anyway, he'll be the, probably he'll be the main character of the new Ant-Man movie. I can't say for certain, but since both Marvel and DC seem to really be resistant to using, more modern and quite frankly, oftentimes more interesting iterations of characters, they always like to go back to the originals. So we can be pretty certain that Hank Pym will show up in the Ant-Man movie, and maybe that'll also mean that the Wasp will get to show up, and Hank Pym will maybe join the Avengers, and I'll get to enjoy seeing that character again in
horrible fashion.
Okay. So.
Okay, so wait, we've now talked about the Magic Sword and the Avengers, so I guess I'll bring up a topic.
Okay.
And this one's video game related, but not of a particular game.
League of Legends.
No, not doing League of Legends right now.
Both David and Kyle are very into League of Legends. I can say right out, I've never played a single match ever.
But what I'm gonna do is actually I want to talk about all the stupid things in games that really continually happen, and companies do not fix or remove these things.
Or they fix and remove things that don't need to be removed.
Yes, or certain companies...
that is always funny when they'll do that.
Yeah, or certain companies, like, you take Blizzard, they made some groundbreaking games, and now anything they make that is a sequel, they get torn a new asshole so hard because it's not the identical game. Whereas you take a company like Bethesda, who makes Elder Scroll games and Fallout games, they have no real competition except themselves between those two franchises. So
that's to say, with regards to big open world, sandboxy role-playing games.
Yes, and so what happens is they can get away making the same mistake over and over and over, that fans immediately create mods to the game to remove said mistakes, and yet that mistake will continually reappear. And so I just kind of want to...
Give an example.
Okay, an example is escorts. Escorts in general, but in Bethesda games, they're notoriously bad, where NPCs, the non-playable characters, will walk to every location. They refuse to go any faster. They can't step down anything higher than an inch. So sometimes you have to wait for them to walk huge loops just to get back to you. They fight anything that gets near them, and they do no damage, and they die almost instantly, and if they die, you fail. So it's this huge, horrible babysitting thing that they never fix.
So just, this isn't by design, but you gotta just boost our them down the hill.
Okay, yes. But
Go there faster, winch, boost our da!
Okay, another example of something Bethesda does that never gets fixed is how imbalanced their systems are. I was explaining this recently. In the newest game, Skyrim, you can get magic. I took points to make my magic do twice as much damage, and I take twice as much. and then I took a talent. So if I dual cast a spell, it just shoots one version of it that's it's 2.5 times its normal power. So, 2.5 times power times another 2, and the spell will hit for, let's say, at that point, 50 damage. And I can cast it like 5 or 6 times. A friend of ours played a melee guy, and he can do a 3-hit combo over and over and over. And each
with melee weapons.
With 2 melee weapons, and with each hit on the 3-hit combo that he can do faster than I can. You can do a 3-hit combo faster than you can do a single spell. Each hit would be for like 150 damage. He went to the final boss of the game and killed the boss in a single weapon combo. And I actually died to the boss. Because since I took double damage from spells, the dragon breathed fire and would kill me.
Dude, I'd like to point out that people who play the stealth route in that game also get really screwed hard in that aspect. I mean, maybe somebody else out there is like way better. Well, of course, there's somebody out there way better than me who's a badass pimp. But every time I play an Elder Scrolls game, I just feel like there's a point when I can't even go against enemies anymore. I just have to sneak past them because my bow does like 3 points of damage or whatever, and they're walking around with arrows in their face like sandwich.
Yeah. So that's so true. This just goes into games in general. Another thing that I just certain game genres that I really hate is you'll have a game like God of War, Darksiders, Dante's Inferno, like the new kind of the replacement of side-scroller beat-em-up like action games. They're now 3D, but they're usually on a linear path. I mean, Darksiders is not, but one thing I dislike...
Oh, Darksiders is so much fun.
Yeah, Darksiders, I have not played it yet. I've watched a lot of it, and it's fun. But one thing that I just despise is... a perfect example is, Conan had a game I don't remember what it's called. It's kind of like God of War. It was for the Xbox 360.
It has graced my Xbox's hard drive, because Ian had it.
Okay, yeah.
Ian's one of our fat friends.
But one of the things that introduces, you start playing that game, and it's awesome. I mean, if you like chicks, there's topless chicks you can save, and you get all these combos, and you can buy new ones, and, you'll cut guys in half, you'll just completely dominate them, you'll slam them into the ground, and there's so many different ways to fight that the game stays fresh, and, there's archers, and there's challenges, and you can get beat up. But partway through the game, once in a great while, you fight guys who have shields. And the only way to stop it is you have to hit the block button right before they hit you, and you knock them off balance, and then you can do a counterattack and hit them once. And so they're kind of hard when you throw one of them in, because you're doing all these crazy murder combos. And then one shield guy will be kind of this thing, is you have to kind of pay attention to him if you want to beat him. Well, I got about 3/4 of the way through the game, and they replaced every single enemy in the game with that type of enemy, and then occasionally would put in a souped up version of one of them with spikes. And it just blows my mind that game companies think that's okay, where they give you like 100 combos, and then you rely on one move over and over and over for the rest of the game.
You know who's also, like, another game really notorious for that is, like, Ninja Gaiden.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Everybody used, I think it was like Flying Sparrows.
Yeah, it's...
Jump Y. That was it. That's all anybody would do. And that's like, that honestly is like the only way to beat like certain parts of it. Or like there's these ghost fish that can fly through walls, and if you cannot...
Ghost fish?
Yeah, it's not. So you literally have, they're like called nunchaku or something stupid dumb. And you have to...
Nunchaku, those are like what Michelangelo uses.
Anyway, so you have to continually using the... It's stupid. It just sounds stupid coming out of my mouth.
Okay, so there's ghost fish though.
Anyway, so you keep doing the same combo over and over and over again, and you literally have to do it for an entire level. Like, or else they'll hit you, because as soon as one hits you, they all come to you and flock on you.
Yeah, see... I actually had a different strategy through there, but it was equally annoying. What I would do is, I would use a spell and it would kill all the fish. And the fish have an unlimited spawn. They just have a cooldown timer. I would use the spell and sprint around until I got enough mana back, or spirit, or whatever it used in that game, and I would find chests and get it back, and I got a little back every time I killed guys. And I would run through an area, and the moment I was about to be swarmed by ghost fish, because you're literally inside a stone labyrinth, I would kill them all, and then I would run around again, and the game boiled down to, did I have enough magic to cast my one spell to kill them and then run around? There's no, besides using the nunchaku combo, which I didn't know about, that was just boring and just obnoxious.
So, you mentioned a stone labyrinth. Did this stone labyrinth have, like 10-foot high walls? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Or was there a roof?
No.
See, you're a ninja. Why didn't you just climb up on top of the roof and run around climb up on the walls?
That's the ninja way, man.
That's totally the ninja way. You're using ninja climbing ability, and then you're just running across the top of the labyrinth.
Because Ryo Hayabusa doesn't do things that way. He does things the man way.
Yeah, as a ninja, we all know they go in with metaphorical guns blazing. Stealth, ninjas don't use
Kunai
that.
blazing.
Kunai blazing. Kunai flying.
Let's see, what's just another obnoxious... Well, escort missions in general, I mean, we already discussed that some, but companies don't realize that fans hate those, and they keep putting them in.
They should just make it so escort missions are just like the character can't die or something, you just have to walk with them.
Like, okay, Diablo 3 had great escort missions, because in that, the guy just followed you around like an NPC, like an extra one of your followers. They were invincible, and they could kind of attack, but they didn't really do anything. They were just there for story reasons. So it'd be like, please take me into the middle of the haunted forest so I can go read this pillar. And you'd do that, and they'd follow you around, occasionally, interject with some comment, and then you'd take them there, and then the quest would be over. And they'd say, oh, now I've read this thing. Let me go back to town and do research. You'd have to be like, alright, you need to take me all the way across this zone. I will walk the entire way. And then, even though you've killed every single monster that's within 50 feet of the road, there'll still be 20 scripted fights.
Yeah.
And the scripted fights are like the bane of that, where like...
No matter how prepared and ahead of it you are.
You know what else I don't like is games that start changing genre.
Yes.
Like, I used to love Resident Evil.
Right.
And then it's like, I even was okay with Resident Evil 4 and 5 to an extent, but 5 was so far, 6 was so far beyond.
Yeah, it was
you're talking about changing...
Like, it went from a horror survival to an action game.
Yeah, like, 4 was still horror survival, but it was a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about, like, changing genre within, like, a franchise.
Yeah.
You said that, I thought you were talking about, like, a brutal legend, where it starts out being, like, a sandboxy type game, and then becomes, like, a really poorly implemented RTS.
A lot of Halo players really, really love ODST, and, that
what does ODST stand for?
Orbital Drop Shock Trooper.
Okay, so what do they do?
So, you got your spaceship up here, and then there's a war going on down here. They drop from orbit into battle, basically.
Oh, so they're like E-frames, and it's a squad.
Yes. Yeah, so anyway, that whole game, it was all about running around this, deserted city, and I don't know a single person who, did that for fun. It was I'm just going from point A to point B, from point A to point B. It was never I'm gonna go hang out and try and discover everything.
I kind of want to do that, but when I played in a group of 3 other people, and, there just didn't seem to be enough to do in the city, so I just kind of went with it.
It just didn't seem fun to me. I was this is not what I play Halo for. I play Halo for,
to shoot purple things.
Shoot purple.
Yeah, you have a very wide open but linear path.
And some people may say I'm one of those gamers who's afraid of change, and I'm not afraid of change. I just don't think it belongs in Halo.
Right.
Well, one of the things is that you a game franchise, you have a particular feeling on how that game should be, and if over time it changes into something else, then it ceases to be like that. It's like Dead Space stopped being survival horror, although the horror aspect of it was basically monsters hiding out in air vents till you came by.
It's still
it was still jumping out stuff till basically Gears of War.
I'm not saying that ODST is bad by any means. I love that game. I think it's got the best soundtrack out of any Halo game.
Okay.
And I love the story. I just wasn't as big a fan of the open world. That's all I was trying to say.
So you didn't play like Master Chef?
No, you played this, well, you actually played all of them, but your main character was the rookie. You were like the new dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Master Chef. Get out of here.
Master Chef is pretty much, like, only mentioned in it,
Okay.
isn't he?
Oh yeah. He's
But yeah, you're
I wish that his rank was Master Chef. And
he
then
was really the cook.
Yeah, in between the fighting missions, he was the cook on their spaceship.
like there's like a little mini game.
they-
Like cooking mama in the middle
Yeah,
of
they
it.
need a crossover of Cooking Mama and Halo.
Halo time instead of burger time.
That tells him mama!
But yeah, that would be the greatest reason. That's why he was the only surviving Spartan, is because he was actually the chef.
He was busy cooking burgers.
He
Yeah.
was the cook. All the other guys were like sent on missions. They're like, whoop, time to send out John Wesley.
Everyman.
John
Everyman. I was gonna say John 316.
117.
John 316, what the hell?
It's like a Bible
Yeah,
verse.
it's like he wouldn't be a very good fighter, I don't think. If that was his name. He'd be like preaching at the covenant.
And so saith John.
Oh man, let's see. There's another, another thing I don't like in games is they don't test anything anymore. You'll have...
Oh yeah, games just come out in a kind of rushed, mostly finished version, and then they can patch it later.
Yeah, you'll have games where,
It's smart to search that.
you'll have a game where it comes out and it's like, at level 10, you can choose a skill that does 10,000 damage for the cost of 1 mana. Or you can have this other one that does 12 damage for the cost of 900 mana.
Real quick.
Yeah, that's just like a balancing
Out of
issue.
all the numbers that Mike picked, you picked John 3:16, and just so everyone can hear this. For God so loved...
Oh, I can recite that verse. That's like one of the most famous verses in the Bible, which is why I thought of it.
Wait, okay, so...
For God so loved the... No, let's not read Bible verses in the middle of this. People, y'all can look up John 3:16 if you're interested, but no.
I thought it was funny. It was like out of all the ones that you picked.
Okay, speaking of that, Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Hulkamania.
No, it's not Hulkamania.
That's Hulk Hogan.
That's Hulk Hogan.
That's right.
Stone Cold has nothing to do with Hulkamania.
Yeah,
He was a Hulkamania.
I doubt it. No, didn't they say Austin 3:16? Wasn't that like a thing? I don't know. Wrestling is one of those things when I was a kid, I really liked wrestling, but it was during the really stupid cartoon character like Hulk Hogan,
Sergeant Slaughter.
WWF on the Nintendo
I only liked
system.
The Rock.
Right.
Where it was they were flat cartoon characters like Tugboat and Tatanka and Yokozuna.
The Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
Mr. Fabulous.
Flair.
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And Macho Man.
Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Bonesaw is ready.
God, he looked like beef jerky.
Yeah, he did.
He was the best spokesman for Slim Jim because he looked like he was made out of jerky.
What's Sonny's thing for Hulk?
He's got the silken hair of a Chinese man and the skin of a hot dog. And that is a description of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
Now that is Glenn Howerton.
Glenn
who
Howerton.
plays, Dennis.
That's
From It's
okay.
Always Sunny, yes.
Oh man, I love that show. It's so good.
By the way, Hulk Hogan released an album like back in the 90s, which is amazing.
It's Hulk Hogan and the, oh gosh, what, it's like the Boot Kicker Camp or something.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It just has like totally horrible songs that like Beach Patrol and
I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac.
I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac.
And
Oh
and
my
the
God.
Hulkster Goes to Heaven.
With the Hulkster Goes to Heaven is like so depressing because it's about some fan of Hulk Hogan's who died and him singing like this
A tribute song.
like this really heartfelt tribute song about, but it's just
But-
like
One of the
What's that
lines.
one verse?
It's, I used to tear my shirt, but now you've torn my heart.
It's really terrible that we're like laughing at that because it's supposed to be like a heartfelt thing, but it's so silly.
when the Hulkster comes to heaven, we'll tag up again. The world just lost another Hulkamaniac, a friend to the end.
Why do you know all this?
Because we listened to it so many times. What's great about I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac, by the way, the best part of that song
It's the part where he raps.
okay, yes, he raps. Like, legitimately, this is Hulk Hogan raps. But what's great is he's always telling you things like, take your
Take
your
your vitamins,
vitamins.
say your prayers.
yeah, he's always telling you to take your vitamins. Because that's what a Hulkamaniac
Oh man,
does.
Hulk Hogan is one of those guys. As a kid, I loved him, but I've heard that he's just like a total like shitbag. Which
Mhm.
I wouldn't find it that surprising. But as a kid, you love him
Yeah.
just because he's basically like a superhero.
I'd like to point out that he was in Saints Row the Third.
He
Oh,
was.
Yeah, he was the
That's
luchador
not-
wrestler.
I still haven't beat
He
that.
played Angel.
Yeah, he plays a luchador wrestler in that.
I need to play that game.
That's a good game.
It is.
Well, it's just like it's like on the back burner for me
Oh, right.
because like I'm trying to Minecraft. I really am.
Oh,
And I'm like playing Red Faction Armageddon.
League of Legends.
Oh yeah, I love League of Legends. I'm terrible apparently though,
Huh.
because I cannot get out of my ranking and it's so annoying. But yeah, so
I see.
do you see?
I do.
Do you see what I see?
Shut up. Let's not be singing Christmas carols.
Jingle bells.
No, stop. Bad.
It's
bad. Bad.
Complicated.
It's too much that we hear them all throughout November and December. You just don't need to be singing Christmas carols in the beginning of March.
Oh, yeah, it
I'm
is
really
March
excited
now.
for like Christmas in July,
Yeah. I see.
also known as my birthday.
Well,
Yes.
Christmas in July. All right. Well, it sounds like we're kind of wrapping up here. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess this is our first attempt, by the way. So hopefully next time it'll be a little bit more structured.
Yeah.
We
But-
could just like write a list of things that we want to talk about or something. Hot button issue.
Well, I think we had things to discuss, but the issue is with all of us, we always have our side stories and our other experiences and things that relate. And like, quite honestly, I mean, we introduced ourselves, we talked about movies / games that we enjoy, we each then brought up a topic, the Magic Sword, the Avengers, and then things in video games. That topic admittedly was shorter, but, we also got to talk about Hulk Hogan, but,
Oh my goodness.
but yeah, I mean, I think that's one of our things is we have our ideas and our structure, or ideas and things we want to talk about, but unless we're really like, we plan this out and we're really strict about not going on tangents, we're going to have a lot of difficulty.
yeah,
Yeah.
we kind of.
I think that's kind of an impossibility.
Yeah, with us at least.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, I guess that's what to expect with future comings. We'll continue to have a structure and hopefully we'll kind of get a little more streamlined, but I don't think...
We'll have a real mic next time also, because right now we're just using my laptop.
yeah, but
This is pretty jank.
I don't...
It's better than my laptop.
You have a laptop?
Oh, it's super bad.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, it can barely do anything. It's like, I want to say 10 years old.
Oh my god.
It's fucking terrible.
That just sounds terrible.
It's one of those ones that weighs like 20 pounds and like, you put it on your lap and you're like burning to death after like 5 minutes.
So don't plan on having children.
So yeah, anyways, so, hopefully this is it's acceptable right now as time goes on.
We should have like a see you later, San Diego.
A send-off?
Yeah.
And fuck you, San Diego.
Very good. Fuck you, San Diego. Just quote a movie.
Okay. San Diego.
God damn it.
Yeah, so hopefully you recognize, we're just using a laptop, not a proper mic. This is our first attempt at this, and
we're doing this mainly because we like podcasts and we think they're fun.
Yeah, even though, like, seriously, Warren Ellis, who is a comic book writer, he's like one of the first comic book writers to really get into Web 2.0. He feels that that's like one of the worst things ever because it's given like just tools like a chance to sit around and like talk about bullshit who don't know what the hell they're doing, just like really stupid people from the American heartland to just sit around and talk about like their dumb, like meaningless lives. Well, that's kind of what we're producing here, but
well, my life is meaningless.
Well, I mean,
well, I guess it is.
I'm not saying my life is meaningless, but really when it's all said and done, like,
it's pretty meaningless.
We're not really producing anything of like any quality here, but maybe someone will like it and we'll try to get better in the future.
Well, we always have a website or something.
Yeah, you could
draw things.
Yeah, David does draw things, so
but yeah,
maybe we can when we set this up, you can look forward to that.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully if you have like some dead end job, like you're working at a car wash,
my God.
Mike Cypos looking at you.
Oh my God, I don't even work at like a car wash. My job is like, I don't even know what I do. Like, seriously, I do not know
what great description.
I do not know what the company I work for does, and I do not know what I do where what I do actually fits into anything. I just sit down in front of a computer and like work for like 8 hours a day, and like I guess I'm getting stuff done, but I don't know what it is or how it fits into like the greater picture of like the business.
It's kind of terrifying, actually.
It is like really bad.
You could be working for like something you totally don't agree with.
Exactly. I could be doing something like I could be working for some totally like morally corrupt, like, heartless company, and I wouldn't know the difference.
That's actually really scary to think about.
I have no idea what the company I work for does.
I know what my company does.
Yeah, you sell suits. That's easy.
By the way, tangent here we're going on, but
can I say something real quick? If you go to the men's warehouse, suck my dick.
You shouldn't say that.
I'm just joking. I'm gonna edit that out probably.
But yeah, hopefully, we at least provide enough entertainment for you, and
we'll maybe get some inside jokes going. Camel fart.
God damn it, don't be doing stuff like that. Inside jokes happen when they happen.
Yeah.
You can't just force it.
No. Do you?
Do you?
I do.
Do you?
I hope so.
Okay. So yeah.
Wow, we've been talking for like 5 minutes about how we're ending the show.
Yeah, so in the future, our endings will probably only be like 3 or 4 minutes.
Do your send off, Kyle.
I don't have a send off yet. We'll figure. I'm gonna figure out my send off.
And to you, Mr. and Mrs. America, good night.
There we go.
My send off is cream cheese.
Cream cheese.
That's just a dirty word.